Mom, I made it to the hockey.
Okay, not now, honey. Let me quickly post you on Instagram quickly.
Did you?
Okay, let me quickly comment and I'll be with you just now. Okay. All right, you were saying?
Nothing.
Please wash the dishes.
Okay, but let me quickly comment here first.
Can you, Amo, do what I say.
Oh, do what you say and not what you do?
That's deep. How did we get here? To do what you say, but not what you do? Find out more this Friday at 3 p.m. We are women. We are brave, strong, capable, unique. We are women to women.
Good afternoon, South Africa. This is our last Friday of the month of January, and I hope for you it was not January. If it was, it's coming to the end. We are on our last Friday, and today we are going to speak a little bit more with parents. We named the show Do As I Say because very few parents out there today dare to say do as I do. And we are going to focus on the third member of the household. You might not know. Maybe you thought about parents, children, and pets. No, there is a third member in a household nowadays in South Africa and throughout the world. And sometimes it is the first member of the household. And that is called social media. We don't realize how social media has invaded our homes, especially parents, and please forgive us, but we are doing this show to help you. Maybe some of the things we are going to bring about, you are not aware, and you are going to be able to connect the dots and see why kids, they have certain reactions on account of overuse of social media.
One of the most common things that we actually come across nowadays is seeing in public places parents on the phones. And I think the saddest one is also seeing in like small babies. So the mom is on her phone and the baby in the pram actually has an iPad and there's no communication at all. And the worst part is when they walk into a restaurant, one would expect that the parent will be the responsible one to take all the devices, put them in the bag, but no. The parent will still continue being on the phone.
Actually, they take out from the bag and distribute for the kids.
Yeah, because when as they're walking in the mall, because that's what makes me afraid sometimes, that they don't even see the kids drifting away from them because you're busy on your device. That child is also busy on their device. And in a public place like a mall, where there's a lot of people and a lot of traffic, it's very easy for someone to just grab your child or for your child to get lost. And we have seen it even on social media sometimes where we see videos of a child. I saw one, the child got lost in Times Square. And in my mind, I kept wondering, but how is it that this stranger noticed that this little boy standing by the pole is lost? And they only found the family after 3 hours searching. And for me, it was like, how long did it take them? The fact that they didn't even know when was the last spot. And maybe our parents are going to say, no, but I don't do that. But you do it because when your child is trying to talk to you, you often hear kids saying, mom, 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 like pay attention to me. And when you look, why is the child saying pay attention? It's not because the parent is window shopping or something. They are answering maybe emails, messages, or even just checking their posts that they have put in. In restaurants, they don't communicate anymore. It becomes even hard for the people that are servicing them at that moment to grab everybody's attention because you're seated. Then the person's going to come back maybe after 2 or 3 minutes to find out what is your order. The most common thing is everybody now putting their phones like, oh, sorry, we haven't checked yet. And then that's when they go through the menu. And that has caused a lot of, I think, embarrassment because in that moment, they have nothing to say to each other. And I don't think you want to be in a spot whereby your child actually has to follow you or in order for you to know what's happening, because that's what's happening now. Parents have to follow their children on social media in order to know what is that child up to. So I think that's something that needs to be, looked at, because even when they're driving sometimes, the child is at the back on their device, the parent is driving but still on the phone. If it's the husband, the wife on the other side as well is on her phone. And it becomes strange. It's like we're all just zombies staring at these small boxes that control us so much that there's nothing anyone can say to each other anymore.
And that's the fact, because people don't realize that we have been controlled by those devices. That kind of behavior from parents, that's the focus of our show today, of course brings about some reactions, side effects in the kids. Who knows if you have seen it, but you did not realize that it is directly linked to the fact that they need your attention, and on account of your work, on account of your responsibilities, on account of what you want to have, that free time for yourself, that break, you have been giving more attention to your devices rather than to your kids.
And if parents can look around, you see that kids change their behaviors. They start wondering, if they look at their child, they're like, why is my child behaving like this? And they don't even know why. But the fact is, what Precious was saying, your child needs attention. You are busy on your cell phone, you are busy on your computer or a laptop, and sometimes the kid, as you said, she's also busy there. So the child is craving for attention, then there's change of behavior. Because change of behavior in someone or in a kid, it means there is a problem. And the parent doesn't even know what the problem is. The child, people complain about their children. Your child is doing this and this at school. And she's like, I don't understand why, because I'm a good parent, I'm a good mother. But do you pay attention to your child? Do you pay attention to the needs of your child? They don't even know the needs of their children. That is why their children crave attention from other people. Sometimes they crave attention in a wrong way. At home, they start doing things that they never did before because the parent never paid attention to the behavior of the child, and if the child has changed their behavior, because they are always busy on these gadgets. And it's so painful because sometimes they get embarrassed. Their child embarrasses them in front of people and they're like, I don't know, I'm a good parent. Those who are in the church, you know what they say? They say it's a demon inside of my child. It's a demon. And it's not a demon. It's because you as a parent, you are not doing your duties.
Let us find out now some of these behaviors that you might see in your child, which is not a demon, I can guarantee. Stats prove that children from parents who are very active in their social media, instead of giving them attention, tend to misbehave more than those who have quality time with their parents. Let's go.
Another one is how, as the show is titled, Do As I Say, when parents are addicted to social media, and most parents complain about, teenagers and young people today, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds have devices today. They complain about the amount of time that their children spend on social media. But what they fail to understand is because children need role models, and children model the behavior that they see around them from those who are their primary caregivers. So with parents being addicted to social media, always being on their devices, as already mentioned, never giving attention, that's exactly what their children end up doing, that this is how it's done. Mom is on the phone. I'm also going to be on the phone because maybe that's where I'm going to get social media. I'm going to get attention from social media. I'm going to get certain followers. I'm going to get friends from social media. And there are so many dangers in that your children have to go online to find fulfillment from what they're not getting from you. So parents will say, why is my child addicted? I don't know why children these days, they never go out to play. You never go out, so they never see you spending time with friends. They never see you spending time with them. So they're also not going to go outside and play because all that they can do is on their devices. So parents need to understand that they are modeling a behavior for their children, and they cannot complain that their children are always on their devices when they themselves are always on those devices, because it's proven that children of parents who are addicted to social media themselves become addicted.
And I think I've never seen a generation where we have so many young kids that have low self-esteem. Like you speak to a 4-year-old and they have no confidence at all. And when I think of myself as a 4-year-old, that was the prime of your life because you share with your family what you're learning in school, the nursery rhymes that you're learning and all of those things. But today, when you ask a little child, like, what is your view on this, or what did we say? You quickly see that child backtracking, being afraid, getting scared. Others even go to an extent of even sometimes messing themselves up because they are not used to being in a place whereby they can voice their opinion and be congratulated by others. So sometimes it's so sad. And I think because we interact with young kids, especially in the church, in our CBCs, whereby you can see the child knows the answer, but the child will just keep quiet and not say anything. And what I like to do is I don't put them on the spot, so I'll leave them. Then afterwards, when I just see them walking around, playing in the casual, then I'll call them. And I'll ask them, so what about that question? Then they'll give you the answer. Then I'll ask, but why didn't you say it? And they'll say, no, I was shy that the others are going to laugh at me. What if I'm wrong? What if that? And I was thinking, at that age, we were never worried about other people's opinions, but they are so worried about other people's opinions because already my primary giver, who's supposed to be congratulating me and saying you're doing well, and when I do wrong, she is able to tell me like, oh, you didn't get it right, but next time you can get it right, is not doing that. So the only interaction that they have is from social media, from trolls who put them down when they don't do something right. So in their minds, mistakes, things not going the right way means you're going to get judgment and be bashed. So they think that's what's going to happen. And that's what we see even among them as peers. They don't know how to congratulate each other. They fight with each other. So when one does well, they don't have this thing like, oh, Tammy did well, I'm happy for my friend. It's more of a competition. It means Tammy is better than me, so I need to do more. But that actually shows a lack of self-confidence in them, because if they did, they would know that she shines on this and I shine in something else. And it's okay. We can all be celebrated together. But where there's no confidence, they're down and they're alone and they only feel confident behind that. And it's even sad when they want to interact with a person. The first thing that I've seen, which is funny, is what cell phone do you have? And my mindset is always like, what do you know about different...
Among so many questions,
Yeah.
what cell phone do you
Yeah, like
have?
what cell phone do you have? And I'll be
Or
like,
do you have a cell phone?
yeah, do you have a cell phone? And I'll be like, yeah. And then they'll be like, but you're never with your phone. Bring your phone for me to see it. And when you bring the phone, the first thing they do is pose. Let's take pictures, because they believe that they are beautiful or they are seen or they are confident through pictures and not by someone telling it to you.
We saw that in our visit to one of the schools in Soweto, that they wanted to make picture with one of our group members because of the kind of cell phone that group member had. Now, if I ask, who was your first cheerleader for your achievements?
My mom.
My dad.
My mom.
So if parents are not there to be the first cheerleaders of these kids, who will? Social media. That's the fact. Social media. We either congratulate them or mostly put them down.
Another one is isolation and depression. Because of parents' addiction to social media, kids nowadays are more isolated and they are depressed. You know, growing up, we would, like my generation, they would always complain that, you know, I'm like this because my mom worked in Johannesburg, in Gauteng, and she left us here, you know, to be raised by our grandmother. But nowadays, that's not the case. Many kids are depressed because the parents are there, but they are not present. So emotionally, they are not available, even though they are there physically. They are not present. So that causes the kids to be isolated, because through social media, the parents are already isolating themselves by being on the phone, so they are not paying attention to the kids. And depression, because children need a parent's touch. They need a parent's affirmation. They need a parent, to pay attention to them, and that causes them to be depressed if they don't get that from their parents. And as Dumelo spoke about how the kids later become addicted themselves, we know how the comments on social media causes even grown-ups to be depressed. So if a child whose mind is still developing and is still growing is exposed to that kind of comments, like you are not beautiful, you are not like this, it causes them to be even more depressed. And the mom is not even there to say, you know what, don't mind them, don't pay attention to this, and affirm the child. But the child is being put down on social media, and the parent is not even there to help the child to come out of that zone of that depression, because maybe the mother herself is depressed because of the comments that they put on social media, on her social media. So because of addiction, because of that, kids are now more isolated because they don't have attention from parents, and they are depressed because they don't have attention from parents, they don't have affirmation. No one is there to model or to encourage them, but they are being put down on social media. They are also being put down by their parents, who are not helping them to grow in their self-esteem or in their self-confidence.
And it's so sad because we see the number of suicide among youngsters, and the parents devastated, knowing, I didn't know what was coming to his mind. Where did he learn this? Where did he learn about whatever he used to commit suicide? From social media. Mm-hmm. So now we have the extreme. We have depression, but also we have the other extreme. Mm-hmm. As a result of this, I will call addiction to social media from the parents.
They throw tantrums. Kids nowadays, you see, sometimes you walk in the mall and then you find, out of the blue, the child starts screaming. Even when you are in the aircraft, you find a child screaming as if someone beat her up.
And we are trapped in that place for 4 hours.
And then you start wondering what's going on. Nobody beat this child. It's because of this, lack of attention from home. Now the child is again craving for attention. You find them throwing tantrums. The behavior is so weird. It's like a child was bewitched. If
they
I can
are hyperactive,
that, yes,
ADD.
Exactly. And then there are children also who are so hyperactive. I remember one time I was traveling and there was this kid behind me. I was inside the aircraft. Oh my goodness. I was so angry, but I was trying to have that smile on my face. The child was, hitting the chair and all that, and then will hit me on the head. And I'm like, my God, the mother does not even see what is happening.
I've been to a flight like this.
So you find a child is embarrassing you. You don't even care because you are tired now. Some, they are tired. I remember there was one in the church, inside the church. This one, I was shocked. The child was hitting the mother inside of the church. And the mother started crying. After the service, when I went out, I said, let me look for her. When I looked for her, and then I was saying, why do you cry? And she was like, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I don't even know what to do with this child. You see that they don't have even strength to discipline their kids. Why? I'm not saying it's your fault, but also you should look at yourself, because we are talking about social media and most of parents are so addicted. They don't even look at their kids. The child is speaking, the child is crying for attention, and the mother is busy. Sometimes she is cooking, the pot is there, and this side is the cell phone. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes the pots are there, and then it's the computer, it's there. She can't do one. She wants to know what is happening, who posted what, who's on Twitter, what did Trump say? They want to, because they want to be the first ones to tell others, oh, Trump tweeted today and he said this and this, or so-and-so tweeted today and this. The news must come through me, and that affects the kid. The kid, you see that the child now is throwing tantrums. The child is behaving in a terrible way that is too much, that you can't even say that it's a child anymore. You can't even, because kids, as you said, in our time, you mentioned I was just thinking when they were talking that in our time, as a child, one word was enough. Mm-hmm. Mom says, don't do that. Immediately you stop. Mom said, pick up your toys and put them in the trunk. We used to have a trunk at home. I don't know if you know those trunks here. You take after playing, you know that I have to take my toys and put them in the trunk. It's time to stop playing. But nowadays, no. A mother cannot even tell their kids what to do because I'm being abused now. The kids say I'm abused.
Because the toy is that tablet and they go to bed with it. That makes them go to sleep.
Exactly.
So that leads us to the conclusion that maybe you don't want to admit or you were not aware that social media overuse, it is an addiction. Let us talk about addiction.
It is an addiction because it is likened to addiction to drugs or addiction to gambling because
Did you know that it is rated at the same level of drugs and gambling?
because the chemical, you said it's dopamine, that is released when you get that like or when you get someone who commented nicely on your post. That chemical that is released is the same chemical that is released when you are high on drugs or when you are gambling. And another interesting thing about the internet or social media, they call us, the people who use social media, they call us users. And another thing that we call people users of is drugs. When a person is addicted to drugs, it's because they are users of drugs. It's an addiction because we think that we are using social media, but in actual fact, social media is using us. So it is an addiction. So it's the same as using drugs. It's the same as gambling. You might not have taken drugs. You might not have been high, but that same energy or that same enthusiasm that you get when you are on social media, it's exactly the same as when you are high on drugs.
And also, Miss Mercy, there are people who are addicted to likes. If nobody liked my post, oh my God, I go into depression. So you see that really it's like
It's
a
an
drug.
addiction.
It's an addiction.
We had a child who said that she was gonna post something on TikTok and she was like, if I don't get 100 likes, then I'm going to remove it. But if I get over 100 likes, then I will dance some more and then put more posts on that social media.
But parents are doing the same to a certain extent. Did you know in America, 30 years back or 20 years back, only 5% of the adult population would have access to internet and social media. And now, I think it's 10 years. 10 years later, 79% of adult population are internet users, so internet subscribers. It means that we're having less quality time and more interaction with devices. Now, we have prepared a test. Are you girls ready to take the test? Because we're talking about, and maybe you are still in denial. No, I'm not addicted. And it is an addiction. So in the comfort of your home, wherever you are, and we are going to take the test here, you are going to answer to yourself, yes or no, to the following characteristics of someone who is addicted to social media. Let's go.
Do you want to see how is your usage of social media? Take a quick quiz to find out. Answer yes or no. Let's begin. The desire for constant social media access. Oversharing. Ignoring real life. Becoming stressed about posts. Spending more than 4 hours on social media daily. Difficulty conversing outside of social media. Waking up in the middle of the night to check social media. Inability to curb social media use. Exchanging messages with family members in the same household via cell phone. Bible reading limited to tablets and cell phones.
I'm afraid to ask if you have scored more than 3 or 4 or 5 of those. Have you?
Well, I said no to most of them. I think all of them actually.
I'm clear.
But that's because we have been learning about Liz long ago, and we have been embarking in the fast of Daniel year after year, sometimes twice or three times in a year. And we realize how dependent we are from social media, and we decide on our own to give a step back and find quality in many other things. If you have tested positive for addiction to social media just after our break, of course, we're going to help you. We are going to give you 4 tips of what you can do or situation you can reverse so that you start having more quality time with your kids. You regain the respect. And who knows, after putting them in practice, you're going to say, do as I do and not merely as I say. Stay with us, and right back, we are going to give you tools to help you.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shichla ma'alot Yisa enai elech achim, me'ayin yavo Ezri me'imcha Hashem, ose shamayim va'aretz, al iten lamod chaglecha, al yenu shomrecha, hine lo yanu velo yisham shomer Israel. Hashem shomerecha, Hashem tzilcha, al yad yeminecha. Yoma hashemesh lo yakeka, vereach balayla. Hashem yishmocha mikocha, yishmoch et nafshecha. Hashem yishmoch utzetcha uvorecha, me'ata ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם.
Welcome back. Now is the time of empowering you to overcome this addiction and to become a role model for your kid. First tip.
I think parents, they need to learn to teach their children manners, especially when it's meal times, but also not only teaching their children, they have to be the first ones to do that. So, because parents sometimes they like to bring up traditions in the house. So you can also adapt the tradition of, okay, when it's meal times, let's take all our gadgets and put them aside and have a decent meal as a family. But it has to start first with the parents, because sometimes the parents, they tell the kids, no cell phones, no iPads, no this, put aside. And then you are having a meal with your kids. While you are having a meal, you are busy, on your phone, having a meal and busy on the phone. So the child will do the same as well. So you have to be the first one to put into practice the rule that you are putting in the house, because meal times are for families to bond together, eat together, enjoy the meal, and have a proper conversation with your family members.
Tip number 1, meal time.
Tip number 2 is to carve out time. So you have to be intentional about the time that you are going to spend with your child. So if you are working a 9 to 5 job, and you know that you are at work the whole time and your kid is at school. So when you get home, you have to be intentional, like set it in your mind and in your child's mind as well, that, for the next 30 minutes or for the next hour, it's just going to be you and me. Some parents have this tradition of having a date night with their kids, where there are no cell phones and all those things. That is them being intentional about spending time with their kids. So you might not have a date night or go out to eat intentionally, but at home you can do that. So when you get back from work, you know that 30 minutes, an hour, I'm being intentional about knowing my child, her likes, what happened today at school. You can do that daily, and then it accumulates. Then you get to know your child much better, and it becomes something, from 30 minutes, it goes to an hour. From an hour, it goes to 2 hours, because you now enjoy spending time together. So be intentional about carving out time to be with your child.
Tip number 3.
Tip number 3 would be to focus and be present. So a lot of us, yes, a lot of parents will say, but I am next to my child, I am with my family. But it comes to now also acknowledging your children, looking them in the eye, making eye contact, hearing what they have to say, because sometimes people can say something, but when you're not looking, you'll just go, and just take that. But when you're making eye contact and looking at that person, you'll be able to sense if something is not okay, or if they're not feeling well. And I think also another thing is, a lot of our families, now we're in January, a lot of people were on holiday, they visited their families, or they went on vacation. How about the next time that you get that opportunity, you be present instead of focusing on, let's take the family portrait. We are all going to wear the same t-shirts. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to post it on social media. How about enjoying that moment that is there rather than just posing for pictures? Because today we often see, when we see a post and we ask the kids, so who is this? They're like, I don't know, like someone in the family, because
They didn't interact.
They didn't interact. So they got to that event, and the main thing was, there's a professional photographer, there's a videographer. Now we have to have everything properly presented and staged. Everybody must sit this way, da-da-da-da-da. And because of that, it's almost like they're running their own reality show in the family. So when kids watch that video afterwards, they're like, who's that? Like, I don't know who that is. I don't know. Oh, I think it's my uncle. I'm not sure. Or a family friend, or it's a stranger. And sometimes it's no one in the family. It was just a person, a caterer, maybe, that was there. And I think even in that, we've become so focused on posting that even when it's supposed to be intimate, what we do as a family, because when I think of in the past, when we would visit, we would see our moms and our aunts cooking together, preparing the meal together, chatting, talking, and we as the kids coming in and out and interacting with each other. But today, no. Everybody, rich auntie comes to town. Rich auntie's coming with a company that's going to set up the tent, put everything up, the catering and all of that. Then when our daughters get married, they don't know how to cook. The caterer is not going to be there in her house every single day. So in those things, I think when we start being present, we will be able to see where maybe a lot of the family problems that we have today maybe originate from, and we could be able to cut them out. Because even today, sadly, in funerals, we all know that it's more of a photo shoot than anything else.
That is unbelievable.
Yes,
it's
people-
more about the photo you can post from the moment that the coffin is going to the ground and this, than really empathizing with the pain of the family.
Yes, and they're there taking selfies and taking pictures. And I think for me, I don't know, for me it's gross, because you're at a cemetery where people are sad, and I don't know when you get the time to be on someone else's grave, because at that moment maybe that one doesn't have like a lavish tombstone, and you're there posting pictures. And sad enough is that sometimes it's not strangers, people that just came to support or come and offer their condolences. It's actual family members.
Yes.
So as the coffin is going down, people are more worried about, oh, I need to make sure that like my cry is okay. Like there's cameras everywhere. So you lose the essence of that moment. Now even funerals have become more of an event in a public spectacle whereby afterwards they're the first ones to even leave, and they don't even console the people that are left behind. No one cares for those kids, where else in the past the main focus would be after the funeral, after the whole thing, the family is going to gather together and now make decisions on who will take care of the kids, who will be helping with this and this and this and this. But today, because of social media, everybody hops into their cars and they're out. And the first thing is they're all posting pictures, and no one really was there to comfort that family. And that makes people upset and sad, because it's more of a spectacle than actually going there and supporting and paying your last respects, as some of them say in that.
I would say that parents also are more concerned about posting the pictures of their kids in their achievement moments or graduation, rather than enjoying and congratulating that child for the achievement, or the moment when he saw the sea for the first time, when he broke some wave in the sea for the first time.
And sometimes they even post there, like, oh, my child got the certificate. I'm so proud of you on the internet. I'm so proud of you. Mommy is happy, that you got this achievement. But does your child know? Did she ever sit down with the child and say, oh, mommy's so proud of you. I'm happy that you did that. You find out that she never even spoke to the child, but she's there on social media posting, like, how happy I am of you. I'm proud to be your mom and all those things.
So
but
now the child
doesn't
needs
know
to
that.
go to the social media to find out what the mother thinks of her.
And one even asked in one thing, like, is she really proud? Because that's my first time seeing the picture there. So that actually makes it even look much more worse, because in you thinking you're proud and you're showing it, that child looks at you as a hypocrite and says, but when I was studying and when I was doing all the other things, you were not there. So now you're just coming in. And this is where, again, we get the culture where kids are now getting more closer to the helpers in the home rather than the parents. So when the child is doing well, nowadays we see them even in some graduation ceremonies, they don't call the parents. It's either the grandparents or the helpers that were helping them at home. And they thank them as opposed to the parent. And the parent gets upset and says, but I'm the one that was paying the fees. Like, yes, you were paying the fees. You were just the sponsor, but not the parent.
That's it. Tip number 4.
So maybe you took the test and you listened to everything that was said, and maybe the conclusion could be that you are addicted or you need to cut back. For most parents, the first step will be like, okay, now we're going to take, cell phones away, from this time and that time, no cell phones at all. But I think that what would actually work, the main tip is that you need to start doing that yourself. You need to include yourself in the new rules that you're going to set for your family, if indeed you do realize that there is an addiction, in you, or maybe you see that your children are addicted, because children don't like to be dictated to. They want their parents to be part of, the new way of living, that all of us are actually going to enjoy time together. And I think why it's important for parents themselves to actually cut back on social media. Many of the things that were mentioned as the consequences of addiction to internet is that we don't realize most of the time how the internet or social media influences the way that we act, the way that we speak, and the choice of words that we use. And when your child is going through something very difficult on social media, maybe he or she is being trolled or bullied on social media, and the terms that are being used on social media of hate towards that child, and they hear you use the same terms, maybe not in reference to them, but just as in speech, you use the same terms. They think that you think the same way that those trolls on social media think. And that's why people are shocked, like, oh, my child is depressed. They're trying to commit suicide. They never came to me. They never came to you because you think and act or use words that are used by the people who are bullying them on social media. So when, as a parent, you step back, which is a tip, when you step back yourself, as you are encouraging your kids to step back, your mind is going to be renewed. You're not going to be using bad language. You're not going to be acting, in a certain way. When people watch reality shows, and these women on reality shows, I'm just going to give an example with the words. These American reality shows, like Real Housewives of this and this, a lot of them, they like to do this. You know how many people you notice who speak and they start doing that with their hands, and you're like, and when you listen in conversation and they speak about those reality shows, you see where they picked that up. So it's really, really important for parents not only to say your kids need to cut back, because it's not good for them, but you need to cut back because it's not good for you, but it's also not good for your child. And you're going to get rid of those things that you learned, and your kids are going to be able to see you not as a social media user, but see you as the parent that you are, because the way that you think and what you do is different from what they see on social media.
And that's why we have parents who don't want their kids to visit their grandmothers. Nowadays, kids don't know their grandmothers. You ask, who's your grandmother? I don't know. She's there in Mtata or she's wherever. But they've never seen why. Because they're like, if she goes to visit the grandmother, she's going to be like a bush girl. She's not going to know about social media and all that. But it's so beautiful when the kids know everyone in the family. For example, for me, I grew up in a way that everybody, my mother's sisters, my uncles, my grandmother, they raised me, all of them. They were part of my life. That is why it's easy for me to call them and check on them. I know everybody at home. But kids nowadays, even when the grandmother comes, they feel embarrassed. They don't want people to know that this is my grandmother because she knows nothing about social media.
And the worst are those who say, no, I'm not going to go. They don't have Wi-Fi.
Yes, and it was the strangest thing because I remember it happened within the family. Then they were telling like one of the kids like, okay, so now it's December, you're going to visit. And the child looked and said, did you install Wi-Fi? Because the last time I was there was no Wi-Fi. And I told you, I'd rather die than going back there. And
where did they take it from?
At home, because when they walk in at home, there's Wi-Fi there. So every single place they go to, and I remember looking at the parent and thinking, oh my goodness, like this is a problem, like because this child does not want to go and interact with people that actually will be there for them when the going gets tough. And because of social media and how we like staging things, we even stage family. The person that I'm calling auntie is not really related. It's a friend of a friend that because she's on the same financial level as I am, I raise my daughter or my son thinking that is your cousin, that is your aunt. And when you sit down and really try to find the family tree, like, oh, so how are you related? They are not. But because parents, because they like as well, as Ms. Togo touched based on, because they're embarrassed of their background, they even alienate their kids from their true family. And from that, they end up having post families. And when those post families are done with you, they're going to leave you high and dry. And who is that child going to relate to? Sadly, let's say, should you pass away, that child now needs to, those people are not going to take your child in because they were committed with you. So now when something happens to you, that child will have to go back to your family. And if they don't know your family, they don't know anything there, they can either run away or sometimes sadly think no one wants them or has rejected them. So I think it's something that parents really need to think about because some of the holidays that you take, some of the things that you do, it's not with your real family, but it's with your friends that you have called your family, and they don't need to be that.
On that tip that Brito Melo gave, I heard there is an app that you can install in your child's phone and limit the usage for the number of hours that you deem that is acceptable. So we wanted to make a challenge with you, mom and dad out there. When you install the app in your children's phone, can you install the same app in your phone and the same hours that you tell them they are free to use internet will be the same for you? Let us try to put it in practice. Now, why I'm saying that? Because when we look at the Bible, God has given a very clear role for parents. And the most important role of a parent, it is to be a steward of God for their children. Kids are not ours. Kids are from the life, from the world, and from God. What is our duty? It is to train them in the ways, the right ways, and when they grow, they will not depart from those values. Now, how can you say you are performing your duty as a parent if you're not teaching your children in the ways of God, but in the ways of day-to-day life? This is why we hear so many kids saying, I'm not going to get married, because they have detached from the value of family. They don't know what it is to have a conversation around the table. They don't know what it is to have the guidance of a mother or the guidance of a father. The third member of this household became the first one. Everyone is on social media. They will Google it. They will Google their doubts. They will Google their questions. They will even Google the right way they have to behave, because the basics that they needed to learn from home, they are not receiving. Moreover, the truth about God, yes, they can Google 1,000 studies, Bible studies, for one question. But it's so much relevant, so much important that you teach them on the ways to the Lord. Yes, you can buy them books, you can buy them children's Bible. How about you sit with them and teaching them the verses of the Bible and sharing your own experiences with God? My Bible verse of today, to finish with our show, it goes to Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged. You might say, I'm not provoking my children. I love them. I provide all that they need. Day to day, enjoy so much more than what I had. But when you are rejecting, you are provoking. When you don't set the example, you are provoking. When you don't give them attention, you are provoking. Fact are the side effects that we discussed, and who knows if it came to your mind, a few other side effects, so that they don't get discouraged. They don't get discouraged about life. They don't get discouraged about family values. And above all, they don't get discouraged about God. Because remember, as a parent, you are God's steward for your child. We are going to pray, first of all, for you to forgive us today. But I think we needed to share. We work with the kids and we know what they're going through. And for God to encourage you to make the right decisions, to be work in progress, is starting by being there, being a parent for your child. Tumi, would you pray for us, please?
My Lord and my Father, we thank you for this opportunity, a learning opportunity that you always give to us. We ask, my Lord, that the parents who are listening, and it doesn't have to be parents who birth children, it could be aunties and uncles, that village that raises children, my God. May all of them have the understanding of the intention of this message of today, that children need role models. Children cannot do what they are told. They do what they see. And it is a great responsibility that you have placed on parents for them to be stewards, my Lord, of yours in the lives of their children. So I ask, my God, that anyone who is sincere and was able to see that they were addicted, that maybe they were setting a bad example for their children, that they would have the courage to break this addiction. It may not be easy depending on how deep they were in this addiction, but it is possible for them to make a decision and stick with it, understanding that it is not just for their benefit, but also for the benefit of their children. May you also give them wisdom on how they can lead their children in this change that they will be taking, and bring their children along, so that the minds of their children can also be filled with things that are good instead of just evil and negativity from social media. The internet is not a horrible thing. We need it for many things. However, there needs to be balance. There needs to be boundaries that are set in order for us to also have time to interact with our family, but also to hear from you, my Lord. Because when our minds are filled with negativity, we are not able to understand your word. We don't even put you on the priority list, because every waking minute of our lives is taken by social media and the internet. So I ask you that you may renew the minds of parents and children alike who are listening to this show, for them to have understanding and to take the courage to make that decision that they will prioritize in the right way, and that their minds will be filled with what is good instead of it being taken by the internet. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So our challenge for you is new beginnings in your interaction with your children. If you have established the fact that somehow you became addicted to internet, and we have exposed the side effects on children, I'm thinking here all about marriage. But that will be another day, another topic, maybe in the month of February, where people out there say Valentine's Day. We are going to focus on how much social media may be interfering in your marriage. It will be an easy ride, because you're going to start making amendments today. Until then, God bless you all. May God bless your month of February. In Jesus' name. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Do you, Mpilo, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?
I.
Sisi, bring me water then.
Yebo, bab.
How? Did you wash my clothes?
Yebo.
By the way, we are moving today. You will have to resign. Understand?
So which one is it? Subjection or submission? Join the Woman to Woman team for a brand new season this Friday at 3 p.m. Women go out to fight. They lead everywhere you look. They have a force that inspires. We could consider them to be superheroines, if not for one detail. They all have a weakness. The problem starts when it becomes bigger than themselves. Do you know what every woman's weakness is? Godlywood Self-Help. Saturday, 4 February at 11 a.m. Live broadcast from Park Station to all provincial and regional branches.